From ticking striped sheets and a red down quilt on a rustic bed in a log cabin to rich dark prints on a gleaming mahogany bed, you'll want it all, as I did, when I talked with Ralph Lauren, surrounded by his brand new collections for the home. Fashion is a function of lifestyle, you were quoted as saying, Ralph, and I think more than any other person in the world, any designer in the world, I think that really reflects your philosophy, whether you're designing clothes or designing this extraordinary collection for the home.
Well, the clothes I've designed really come out of living. I've never designed just to design. I've designed out of a dream. And in designing a look, you sort of put yourself in the place that you're going to be. And if you do resort clothes or if you do fall clothes, say, where are we? You know, we're in this beautiful old cabin, or we're in this beautiful, elegant English home, or whatever, and then you design the clothes.
How long did the collection take to design? 2,000 items.
In actuality, I think it was about 1.5 years of really preparing. I just did everything I could do and just kept doing it until they said stop. I provided the mood and the things that I, as a consumer, never could find. You walk into stores, I have found that many of the American products, and I'm a big booster of America, have been commercial. We tend to be too mass-oriented, and I think a lot of people want specialness. They want quality cotton, they want cottons, they want beautiful accessories. They're hard to find. The home is not necessarily the bed and the couch. It's the little touches that you put around. It's the little color that you put on. It's the little things that are sort of accidental, and I think that's how people dress also. It's not necessarily, it's that little belt you wear around your sweater. It's your shoe that you wear. It's not the whole mass. It's the little touches that show the class and the touch and your taste.
For example, I love the bowls, the wooden bowls with the little brim, and the plates and the flatware that is designed to go with them, because to me it isn't just taste, but it works, there's logic.
Clothing and home are the same sensibility. You can design beautiful things, but if people can't wear them, if they don't look easy, if they look too done, they're not going to work. I don't care if it's a masterpiece and it gets reviewed as the greatest thing ever happened. People have to wear it, people have to use it, people have to function. And part of good design is function.
I think many of us women have gotten extraordinarily frustrated going into a store and looking for a certain color on a sheet or a towel, and it's just not there. And now it's extraordinary.
Well, I've worked with color all my life, I guess, all my working career. And again, people respond to color. Color is very exciting. It sort of gives you a lift. And I think that in things I've designed over the years in terms of clothes, you sort of see the response, and then you say, well, boy, if I had a home and I couldn't afford to change my whole home, but yet from fall to spring to winter, if I could just change the colors of the beds and make them alive, it sort of gives you a lift. Mm-hmm. And that little color change, going from white to royal or from green to yellow, whatever it is, it sort of says, wow, I got a new house. And I think it's a very inexpensive way of giving you a real lift and a good mood.
I think if I walk into my bathroom and I found the mulberry towels, for example, it would just make me feel good.
Well, you know, I make lots of T-shirts and things like that. And we found that people love the colors, and it's just a T-shirt, but it's a whole change, and they love wearing it. I think they're going to love colors and towels and sheets, and it does change your mood.
And that wonderful detail, the attention to detail everywhere in the decor here, but aside from that, the little pillowcases with the tiny baby button.
Yes.
You know, looking at your button-down shirt.
Well, that's where it came from. Everything has an origin. The other thing that I've always believed in, aside from colors and aside from unusualness, is I've tried to put quality in everything I've done. It's not a matter of what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside. It's what's going to hold up, what's durable. We've done new counts in sheets, things that I've never knew what they were. But as I studied the market and started to know what it was about, I said, why don't we make a better sheet? Why don't we do this? So we've come out with a new sheet with a new construction that's all cotton. So I think that although it was, it sort of gave this industry, and certainly J.P. Stevens, a nervous breakdown in working with me, I think in the final analysis they're very happy, and I think the consumer's going to be very happy.
From ski pullovers to natty tweeds, the best of Ralph Lauren, next when You Magazine continues.
Whether he creates rough outerwear, thoroughbred tweeds, Oxford sheets, or denim placemats, Ralph Lauren's designs are loaded with style, and they give personal style to women and men who wear his clothes. Just watch.
In doing the clothes, and every year we've certainly, the sweater, doing hand-knit sweaters I found to be very exciting, and the consumers really loved it. The area that we sort of went into was this skiing in the 30s, which had a real glamour. It's a lifestyle. That particular period has always been an exciting period for me. And sort of, you think back at the old movies of Sonia Henney and Tyrone Power or whatever in the 30s in Sun Valley, that was sort of an inspiration, because some of the log houses and some of the mood of the stone and the whole lifestyle, and the kind of sweaters we did had to do with the old world of skiing. That interprets itself today as sportswear that's sort of rugged. You don't have to be a skier to wear these sweaters. You don't have to be a hunter. I've always loved to design out of things that are used for utility and used for ruggedness, and I find that those things, for me, become the natural way of dressing. That's how I would dress. So the ski look that they might have worn in the 30s becomes the weekend look in the 80s. What was interesting about the tweeds, particularly for women this year, is that, again, I've always loved the very fitted kind of suits, and probably will always do suits in my collections. This time we did a sort of a pantsuit, which is a word that sounds like it's old now because it was used 20 years ago, but we did a very fitted suit with a belted back bi-swing. It's a real action, looks like a hunting suit for women. And actually, it was the kind of things that someone might have worn in England or Vienna to go hunting. I've translated that into, I think, a look for women that looks very delicate and yet at the same time has a real rugged look. And we did a pant that is called the Alpine pant that has a sort of tapered cuff look with a button on it, sort of like a ski pant. And it's worn with antique pins, and it sort of has an outdoor, yet a look that can be worn in the city. And what has always been classic has been the things that I've used, the wonderful blazer, the gray flannel that we've used with the little double-breasted vest. It's sort of a blend of old world and taking things from men, taking things from women, put it all together as a special look. The man's look, as usual, I've never really tried to change. I've always kept it traditional and classic and just used new fabrics, widen or narrow the lapel occasionally. I really think my feeling about menswear has always been to keep the traditionalism and not to shake them up. And I think that men, unlike women, even though you might have a conservative couple wearing your clothes, men don't want to look like they're in fashion. And a well-dressed woman doesn't want to look like she's in fashion, but she wants a little of it. I have never been really known for evening clothes, although I admire evening clothes on women. Certainly I think it's a time to look very glamorous and very elegant. And I've sort of shied away from evening clothes. I've done things more like blazers and tuxedo jackets and things like that. But when it came to gowns, I felt there's always a lot of other wonderful designers that do it a lot better than I do. But I zeroed in on a particular look because this year I've done a lot of cashmere. My whole collection is cashmere. It's a wonderful fabric that really looks wonderful and has an elegance and a warmth and a coolness and has all the elements. And I've done the sort of a look in the cashmere evening gowns that I love. I've gone from gray flannels into blacks with bright royals and blacks with different colors. And the one shoulder look with a sort of shawl over it, I think, is elegant, simple, sexy, has all the elements that I think that a woman would like to look like at night. And I'm particularly fond of what I've done.
You Magazine will be back in a moment.
How we look, what we wear, what our homes look like, is really how people perceive us when they first meet us. That's before they know how nice we are, how wonderful we are, how bright we are, how successful we are, because first impressions do count. So it really pays to pay attention to the way you look and the things that you surround yourself with at home, aside from the fact that looking at wonderful things gives you visual pleasure, I think, that most of us enjoy. At least that's my personal opinion. Do let us hear from you. Write to us at You Magazine, P.O. Box 5001, FDR Station, New York, New York, 10150. And thanks for joining us.
Uptight, strung out, and loaded with tension at the end of a workday? Help's coming with really strenuous exercises that get it all out. Wondering how to get what you want and where you want to be without turning people off? Wendy Crisp, editor of Savvy, has the right answers. Finally ready to dive into fall and into some new clothes? A look at some splendid numbers. American sportswear at its best and most polished from Calvin Klein. This and a talk with Calvin about his new design ventures, underwear for men and women, all in one marvelous half hour in next week's edition of You Magazine. Be sure to join us again. You Magazine, too good to miss.